Gary, when you and Scott line up, it's just a no-holds-barred deal, isn't it?
That's right. I knew Scott was running hard, and, you know, I knew I was going to have to push my truck really hard to take the win, and I think that was the fastest time of the weekend right there so far.
As Porter goes back to make some refinements to his truck, we take a look at Eldon DePew, the youngster out of Granite City, Illinois, over by St. Louis, in Taurus on the right side. And there is Colt Cobra and Snake Bite on the left side.
Now, Colt had an easy run in the first round. DePew did not. First jumps are even.
Eldon DePew, Army by only a fender. You're right. They were side by side coming off the line. No one had the whole shot advantage, but it was superior horsepower by that truck right there. Taurus, Eldon DePew, he got him in no man's land. Headed for the, watch this again now, heading for the finish line. And right here, under power, Eldon DePew takes the victory and defangs the snake, and he is down there trackside with Army.
Eldon, it looks like about the first foot and a half of the track is starting to break up under you guys. Will that affect the truck?
Yeah, you know, it's a little soft on the starting line. It's starting to dig some holes, but I think once we get down to the harder stuff again, it'll be all right.
So everything's okay? You ready to go in the next round?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Gary, he doesn't realize this is South Florida. There's no hard stuff under that sand. It's all sand.
And here is John Moore. This is no problem. Now, John was the fast loser from round one, so he gets to advance into round two, and look who he draws. Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass.
Well, some days are diamonds and some days are stones. There's your gloves again, Gary.
Now, I like your red Simpson driving shoes and that wild jacket you had on earlier.
Well, one thing for sure, the Ford people are going to like this race.
Now, they can't lose in this one. Pickup truck against Bronco, but it's all pickup. Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass.
I told you at the beginning of the show, you're going to see the monster truck Air Force. Andy Brass is a fighter pilot.
Well, we talk about superior equipment. We have to talk about a combination of chassis, this two-frame chassis, the race truck, plus the horsepower being developed by that big Ford engine.
But they got to work together. You got to remember that. If you don't put the truck on the ground, the horsepower's not going to do you a bit of good in the middle of the air.
A good crowd on hand. They're appreciative, and certainly the weather has been so hospitable here in South Florida as we look at the semifinal matchups. Bigfoot against the Crusher and Taurus against King Crunch. He is the fast loser from round two. And now let's go down and talk to Andy Brass.
Andy Brass, you're going against a guy you've run many times, Gary Porter. You got any type of thought on this run?
Well, we've just been watching the lights, been trying to play the light real close. You know, we're making a gear change over in the truck right now. We made a real good run. Our time's been running better than Gary's, but, you know, they've been doing a little work to the track, so things might shape up a little bit, and it's going to be a good close run. We're just going to have to push it hard.
Well, Andy Brass has won his share, but Gary Porter has been on a roll. He is hot. That should be a good matchup. But first, we have the semifinal matchup between this guy right here, the youngster Eldon DePew in Taurus, and he goes up against Scott Stevens out of Texas in the Auto Value King Crunch.
You got to remember, Gary, DePew has been late all day long off the starting line. The trucks had to make a lot of horsepower mid-range in order for him to get to the Final Four. Stevens knows that. Hey, now DePew is on time on that light.
DePew was off the line, and he had the horsepower and takes what most would consider an easy victory. There is Taurus. He will go into our championship shootout here this afternoon in Naples as we take a look again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the kid was on the light. Congratulations to him. You know, time in the seat, you know how important it is. Well, he seems to be awfully relaxed, but the most important thing, he's half the final. Who's going to be the second half? That's the big question, Gary.
Well, he went to school the first two rounds, and he took what he learned to that semifinal round to knock off the Auto Value King Crunch and Scott Stevens. And look at the size of that victory. Here's Eldon with Army.
Gary, we're talking to a guy that took the monster truck race and literally like a duck takes the water. You seem to just be a natural at this sport.
Yeah, you know, I've been around it for a while. You know, my Uncle Jack's been driving for a long time. Watched him, you know, watched my cousin Jackie. You know, I just learned from the best.
Well, yeah, I agree with that now. It's final time. You know that you're going to be there. Do you have any preferences to who you're going to run? The Ford of Bigfoot or the kid with the Carolina Crusher and the Chevrolet?
They're both tough competition. You know, whoever gets there, I hope to beat them, though, too.
And now we will determine who he goes up against. Will it be Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass out of St. Louis, Missouri, or Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher? Chevrolet against Ford.
The trick is not to get a lot of air on the first set of cars. That's what DePew's doing. He's actually driving over the first cars. then he can use that horsepower with all four wheels on the ground between the jumps. So these guys have watched the rookie Depew. They figured his groove, if you will. Let's see what they do.
So you're talking about self-discipline. As that light turns green, you nail the hammer, but don't nail it too hard.
There they go, both of them. Oh, that was a good
Fender victory for Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher.
Wow, it's going to be an all Chevrolet final in Naples, Florida, and these people are pumped, Gary. Look at this.
Well, I think any time that someone like Andy Brass, that has won so many times, is defeated, the fans enjoy somebody else in victory lane. Today it will be somebody else, because right there the victory goes to Gary Porter, and here's Gary.
Gary, we're at the final time of the event. We got a couple of different scenarios here. Number one, experienced driver Gary Porter going against a rookie. Also, Porter is a leaver, and the kid on the rookie stripes is a top-end charger. Gary, who's going to win this thing?
Well, hopefully I will. You know, it's going to be a very good race. Tars, he's running really strong. Elton is doing a superb job driving the truck. You know, it's going to be a real close race. I'm just going to have to watch the light real close and hope I can come off the line hard.
You got to push that light in order to get ahead of this kid, because you know he's going to be closing on you like a fast-moving freight on that finish line end.
That's right. You know, he knows I'll be right there, and I know he'll be right there. So both of us will be playing the light as close as we can and trying to get a good start.
Well, I think the only thing we can do here is just hold her to the floor and hope for the best.
It's the Crusher and Taurus vying for the checkered flag here in Naples. Here in Naples, Florida, Gary Lee along with Army Armstrong at the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Suncoast Nationals. These Jamborees offer a host of activities, not only for the truck lover, but for the entire family as well. To find out more, call or write the Special Events Promotion Company. Well, we are down to the final two. It will be the Crusher and Taurus for the championship here in Naples, Florida. And Army Armstrong, your thoughts on the championship shootout?
Gary Lee, we got a unique situation here. We got the old veteran here, Gary Porter, been through these wars many, many times. His advantage is going to be on the starting line end of the track. The other side of the coin is this new kid. He may be a new kid in age, but I tell you what, he's driving like an old pro. He's going to have a top-end charge. He's going to be like Katie bar the door. So he's going to win this one. I really think if there was ever such a thing as a toss-up, this is it. The only common denominator, both Chevrolets in the final. Let's go.
Ford fans are somewhat disappointed that perhaps Bigfoot is not in the final, but it will be Chevrolet against Chevrolet. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, Eldon Depew, and Taurus.
But there's another common denominator here, Gary. We opened the show talking about the technology in the sport. Here, Andy Brass talked about changes during the race and everything. The new trucks, the new style, two of the newest are in the final.
All right, it's the youngster in Taurus, the veteran in Crusher.
Oh, heads up start, both drivers. Now they're in no man's land. Horsepower pays off.
Well, it's the Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter, but I think Gary had the advantage. I think he cut a better light.
He did. Boy, he drilled that tree, and it paid off on the other end.
Watch again. Watch the left-hand lane. Yeah, he cut a real nice
settled
light.
down. See, he settled down in no man's land, and the Depew was bouncing a little bit. That's all Porter needed.
The chassis was working along with the horsepower. Gary Porter wins it. He takes the championship, and he's with Army.
Gary, the starting line advantage worked to your favor, but when the truck settled down in no man's land, it went like a rocket.
That's right. I was getting a good start. You know, I was watching the light really close, getting a good start. As soon as the truck would land over the first set of cars, I would shift the second gear, and then I would just pop third gear and just hang on.
Just settle down and made horsepower. Congratulations to you, Gary.
Okay, thank you.
And that wraps it up from Florida Sports Park here in Naples, Florida. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to be with us next week for another edition of Trucks and Tractor Power. And now, here's news of an exciting home video release from Diamond P Sports.
Here we roll again. All new from Diamond P Sports, it's